What's going on, guys? Right, if you've ever had a fear of flying, then you need to watch this video right to the end. There's stuff that I'm going to talk about in this video that I've never seen anyone talk about. Okay, so watch it right to the end. Even if you've been mildly stressed at flying or you get mildly anxious, this video is definitely going to help you. So I literally went over to Belfast like a couple of days ago, and it's only a 45-minute flight. And I noticed the flight over there, I've always had like a bit of a fear of flying. I've always like been a bit uncomfortable, clammy hands, and not liked it. I've flown quite a lot over the years, but I've never liked it. There was an instance a few years ago when I came back from Turkey and I experienced like really intense turbulence. So I was already a bit anxious, and I had some really intense turbulence where the trolley in the middle, the Coke cans were flying off, an old lady in front of me threw up into a bag. Like it was everyone was like, you know, everyone was silent. The air hostesses and stuff were grabbing onto the chairs and like crouching down. All the lights were flickering, scared the life out of me. So I was already a bit anxious. And then after that experience, I literally thought like the plane was going to tear in half, and it scared the crap out of me. So after that experience, every time I experience like a little bit of turbulence now, it kind of triggers that fear response in my body still. I went over to Ireland a couple of days ago, and on the flight over there, I felt like a bit anxious as we was taking off, but it wasn't too bad. And then I was like halfway through the flight, I was calm as anything. I was looking out the window, I was enjoying the flight. It felt good, like for the second half of the flight. It felt completely peaceful. No stress, no anxiety at all. We had an event in the evening, didn't finish till like 9 o'clock, and then I had like a round table with the event speaker. So it went on a bit longer until about 10. And then after that, because I've had like a bit of a sore throat and stuff, and had a virus like a month ago and it's still not cleared up, I use that to justify having like a hot toddy, which is like a whiskey with warm water and lemon. So I had a whiskey, and then obviously went to bed later than I usually would, got up earlier than I usually would, well no, about the same time, in order to get the flight. Threw off my routine completely, didn't take any of the supplements I usually do. And then the next day when I got the flight, I noticed as soon as we started taking off, I was anxious and I was just in panic mode for the whole flight. My hands were clammy. I couldn't get the thought of the plane falling apart and us smashing into the ocean. I couldn't get it out of my head. And I just kept like getting really anxious. And I knew that what was happening, I knew I was safe. I knew I was fine logically, but my body was just like responding in this way. And I was like, what is going on? And I thought that there must be something going on with regards to nutrients and stuff. So I looked into it a little bit more. And I've looked into this stuff quite a bit anyway, because I've dealt with like anxiety and stuff, with brain inflammation. This stuff it definitely helps. It definitely helps. So I think the reason why I got so anxious on the flight back was mainly because of the nutrient depletion. There's a psychological aspect of this and a physical component. Okay, and a lot of people just focus on the psychological aspect and don't try to really focus, any attention on the physical component, because there's definitely a physical component to it for sure. So I'm going to start off with how flying actually affects your body. Airplanes, I've got notes on my screen here, that's why I'm looking down. Airplane cabins have lower oxygen levels, causing mild hypoxia, which can increase anxiety. The dry air leads to dehydration, depleting essential electrolytes like magnesium, sodium, and potassium. Flying also increases oxidative stress, further straining the nervous system. So when we're in the air, when we're in that condition, it's stressful for our system already because of the dehydration, because of the dry air, the cabin pressure, the lower oxygen, the increase in oxidative stress. You're causing extra stress to your system and you're depleting these nutrients. So it makes sense that for that period of time, you're going to have to increase those nutrients. Okay, it's because your body has a higher demand for them. It's the same if you're doing like loads of saunas and loads of sweating and stuff. You want to make sure you're replacing your electrolytes. And if you're drinking alcohol and stuff like that, that's going to increase the function of your kidneys. You're going to get rid of more electrolytes. So you can just get any old electrolyte powder, I would. I mean, most of them are pretty typical. I use this one. You can get it like in Boots. It's like £8 for this tube of like 20. Use this if you're flying, pre-flight, and then during the flight. Make sure you're keeping yourself well hydrated with some of these tabs to make sure that you're supporting your system and giving it the electrolytes that it needs. Also increasing your uptake of magnesium. So usually I use this magnesium breakthrough, which is like a blend of different magnesium. So there is only one type of magnesium, but they're bound to different amino acids, which helps to transport the magnesium to different areas and different tissues of your body. Okay, different organs and stuff. This one's more cost effective. It's just biglycinate. If you just want to start with this, you can just start with this. And then if you can, use this as well, because it'll get to like different tissues and different areas of your body. The recommended daily allowance is like 400 to 600 micrograms. But in the same way that if you look at the general population and what the life expectancy is, you can look at the life expectancy of the UK, for instance, and if you live in the UK, that life expectancy is going to be an average. It's not going to tell me anything about how long you are going to live based on your biological markers, okay? So in the same way, take the recommended daily allowance for stuff as a reference range. You might need a little bit more, okay? If you deal with like chronic stress and chronic anxiety, or maybe you're really super physically active and you're putting a lot of stress in your system, the demand for things like magnesium is going to increase. So yeah, so you're going to need more than the general population. So you want to start low with it, and then you can slowly titrate it up, look at the negative side effects for taking too much, and try to look out for that stuff and make sure that you pull back if you notice any of it. So magnesium, you can increase bowel motility a little bit. So if you notice your stools are becoming a bit looser, maybe pull back on the dose. But I've seen benefits. I've gone up to like a gram a day of that stuff, which is like 1,000 milligrams. And the typical RDA is like 400 to 600. I feel best taking about a gram. So this is what you're going to do next time you have a flight, leading up to it. Electrolytes, okay? You've got to have these before the flight, during the flight, making sure you're keeping yourself well hydrated. Magnesium is the second one. Without magnesium, your muscles can't relax. Yeah, so if you haven't got sufficient amount of magnesium, you're generally going to be tenser and tighter, and you need to make sure you've got magnesium, enough magnesium. That's one of the key ones, okay? Second one is choline. Choline supports brain function, and a deficiency can lead to brain fog and anxiety. So this is alpha GPC. Okay, so you can get this. I get this on an app called iHerb. It's where it's most cost effective. Always check, because you go onto Amazon a lot of the times, things are more expensive than they are on apps like iHerb, and you can probably even search on Google. So always search them sites. Okay, so alpha GPC, that's going to help with basically just making sure that your brain can function better, okay? Another one is B complex. The main B vitamins is B6, B9, and B12, which are essential for neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. So I like to get a methylated B complex. You need to make sure it's methylated, okay? A lot of people have genes which make it that they are poor methylators. What methylation is when you get a B vitamin from food, your body sometimes has to convert that B vitamin into a usable form, and that takes up resources. That conversion takes up resources like magnesium and other things. So if you get them already methylated, your body doesn't have to do that. So you can save the resources, and it's already in the usable form. Bam, your body can use it straight away. So you get methylated B vitamins. I use this one by Life Extension. You can also get one just on Amazon. Just check methylated B vitamins, okay? And make sure it's got B6, B9, B12, which, all the complexes will. And you can always, like leading up to the flight as well, double dose it. You can take more, okay? So they're essential for neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. Another one is omega-3 fatty acids, which help to lower inflammation and stabilize mood. So here's the one I use. Okay, you can get this one on Amazon also. I would start taking this. I take this stuff every day now, okay? But I would start increasing your dose of it closer to a flight. If you're coming up to a flight, making sure that you've got enough of this stuff in your body to make sure that when we work on this psychological component of it, your body, your physiology is actually able to go into a relaxed state because it has the resources and the ability to do so with all these nutrients, okay? And yeah, that's what you can do on the physical side, okay? So the physical side is making sure that you're getting enough sleep, all the basic stuff really. Try that. For most people, I reckon this is going to help. It's going to at least take the edge off. It's going to give your body the ability to kind of like cope with the stress response a little bit more. So even if you can't stop the stress response in your body is now going to be able to cope with that better having these nutrients in your system, okay? So why flying triggers fear? As I said, like on the trip over, I was all right for the second half of the flight. On the way back, it literally felt like, do you know when you watch them videos of people like walking on skyscrapers and like it makes you feel like, whoa, you can't watch it because you feel like, some people get it, some people don't, but it literally felt like I was like being dangled off the edge of a skyscraper by my ankles. That was how my body felt when I was in the plane looking out the window. Like I felt like I was dangling. I felt like, oh my God, it's just weird. I'm floating through the sky like in this tin box, and it's like, you're no control. You're just trapped in this thing. You can't get off. Sort of like being on a fairground ride, like a roller coaster or something. I think if you've had some traumatic experiences when you were a kid on like fairground rides and been, terrified on that can like trigger a response in your body that then when you feel that you're put in a similar situation, your body unconsciously remembers that. You don't remember it through thinking, but your body unconsciously remembers that, oh, this is dangerous. And then boom, your body goes into fight or flight. and you start burning up all of them essential nutrients, and then you get into this negative spiral. So you focus on the physical side, but then also on the psychological side as well, okay? So why flying triggers fear? The brain's fear center, the amygdala, overreacts to unfamiliar situations like turbulence. As I said before, I was always a bit scared of flying, always like fear response in my body when I was flying. It wasn't so much a psychological thing, it really felt like a physical thing. My body was just like, boom. I was just like, in a fear response, in a heightened response. And it wasn't until I had that turbulence of like, that was the unfamiliar situation, that turbulence of like, oh no, I've never experienced this before. This must be something new, different. My brain's trying to figure out what it is. And my brain's like, maybe the wing's going to rip off, That's where my brain goes. So that's your amygdala, which overreacts to unfamiliar situations like turbulence. Lack of control and catastrophic thinking fuel anxiety. It's exactly what I experienced. I've experienced that over and over again. As soon as you experience it once and you've got that like intense kind of emotional response in your body, it's very hard then for that not to happen again. Also, another thing that can happen is that hyperventilation. Okay, when you start over breathing, which reduces the CO2 levels in your body, and CO2 helps to take the oxygen and shuttle it into your brain. Okay, so you've actually got less oxygen in your brain when you start to over breathe. And you're just adding all these kind of like components, and it's just like the perfect storm for you to just feel like crap. Yeah. So yeah, with the psychological component of it, is just understanding this is completely normal. So you want it to become a familiar situation. You want to be prepared, like, okay, turbulence is normal. My brother had this similar thing with being scared of flying. And he said one of the things that he did, which helped him, was to research the safety of the planes and the testing that they go through and the likeliness of getting into a crash and stuff like that. But one of the things he did is look at like how equipped these planes are to deal with turbulence. Like turbulence is you're not gonna crash, you're not gonna like come out the sky because of turbulence. Basically the wings on a plane can bend like all the way up and they won't snap. So that they are well equipped to deal with the situation of turbulence. Okay. And another thing that he said as well is there's like, I think something like over 1 million planes in the sky, 1 million passengers in the sky at any one time. Like planes, there's so many planes in the sky right now. Like the amount of flights going on is insane. So the amount of actual crashes that happen are so infinitesimal. Like it's so tiny, the chance of you getting into a bad accident. Understanding this stuff can help. It's not going to be alone the fixer, but these are all components of things that are going to help hopefully to mitigate the fear response and to start you overcoming the fear of flying. And I'm still not completely over it yet. This is all theory at the minute for me because of my recent flight. So I'm going to put this into practice next time I fly, and then I'll give you an update on it. So yeah, in the same way that you don't get fearful and panic about walking down the road and crossing the road, even though there's probably a higher chance that you're going to get plowed down by a car and die crossing the road than you are on a flight. You can understand that, but I know that doesn't help the physical response, but it can in time. As I said, it's going to be a component of it to understand that you are safe. You are ultimately safe. Okay. I saw a baby on the plane, and the baby was sitting there just like looking around, like just completely unaware. That's how we all started off. We all started off completely unaware. Oh, and I remember like the flight, maybe it's a bit scary, but if you're reassured by someone, it's like, it's okay, you're safe. That's how we all started off. And then we get conditioned and we have like experiences and thoughts that then condition this fear response in our body that then we get stuck in. Okay, so just understand that you are safe. Okay, no matter what happens in your body, no matter what thoughts you have, just understand you are safe and you're going to be absolutely fine. And I see like the air hostesses walking around and stuff, just completely calm, completely tranquil. I'm like, what are they thinking about this experience that's different to the way that I'm thinking about this experience? They're obviously having different thoughts to me. So the thoughts are like a key component. It's just choosing not to believe in them catastrophic thoughts. Don't give them any power, and don't try to suppress them and push them away either, because then that can intensify them. And you're scared of the thoughts, which can create the fear. It's not actually necessarily the thoughts, it's the fear of having the thoughts. Do like a little meditation where you sit and you kind of like visualize any thoughts that might come up during a flight and allow them to be there and don't take them seriously. Do you know in one of the Harry Potter films, what's that spell where they say ridiculous or whatever, where basically the goal is to bring to mind your worst fear. Yeah, so there's a teacher that was a werewolf and he brought like a moon. A moon came up for him and he did the spell and then it turned into like a silly balloon and whizzed around the room. We need to do a similar thing with our thoughts about this. So you can don't do this when you're on the plane. Do this beforehand or maybe after you've, had a flight and you're like, oh, okay, I didn't deal with that so well. So then after the flight, you can visualize the same thoughts that you had during the flight and then try to make them less intense. Try to make them funny, or try to just put a different spin on them so they lose their power. Yeah, we try to make them silly, try to make them playful, yeah, yield to them and allow them to be there rather than fighting them and being scared of them. So that's a key component, but it takes practice, yeah, because if we're conditioned to respond in a certain way and think in a certain way in certain situations, then it can be hard to get out of that groove, out of that rut. Okay, it takes practice, it takes time, it takes conscious effort. So bring to mind those situations, those thoughts that you're scared of, and then find a way to make them silly. A good practice, a good thing to do would be to think about what you would say to a child that is having those thoughts. What kind of advice would you give a child that is having the thought that you are having? What words would you speak to them? And then speak them words to yourself. You've got to learn how to soothe yourself. Also, what can help during the flight is just controlled breathing. That's another key point as well, is to make sure that you're not hyperventilating. And what I've done with this, because I've had like muscle spasticity in my back due to like inflammation in my nervous system, so I had tight muscles and I kept over breathing. What I've found really helps is knowing that what's the worst thing that's going to happen if you don't breathe enough. You're going to pass out, aren't you? Like if you hold your breath or someone chokes you out, you're going to pass out and you're going to be knocked out unconscious. So be okay with that as an outcome, because you go to sleep every night, don't you? And 8 hours, 9 hours, whatever, you manage to go through the night without having to consciously breathe. So your body will take over and look after the breathing. So don't try to necessarily, if you find yourself getting to a bit of a spin with your breath, let go and just realize that even if you breathe super slow, if you've got the urge to breathe more, you don't necessarily have to listen to that urge to breathe more. You're going to be fine. If you pass out, you pass out. You won't. But just tell yourself that, okay? So a good controlled breathing method is 4 seconds in, hold for 7 seconds, and then 8 seconds out. Okay, and that will prevent hyperventilation. That's pretty much it. So by preparing your body with the right nutrients and using psychological tools, you can manage flight anxiety effectively. Let me know in the comments if you struggled with this before and if you've done anything that I've not mentioned in this video that has helped, because then other people that are watching this video can read the comments and gather more resources and more tools and tricks to help them with this. I'll do another video in the future after my next flying experience, and I'll let you know how this stuff is working for me. Share this video with a friend that you know gets stressed out by the thought of flying, and hopefully it will help them. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.